Guys, I'm teaming up with my good friend, retired Navy SEAL Jocko, and we're going to do something very special. Jocko started Jocko Fuel after finding out some of the supplements that he was buying for his family were filled with heavy metals and ingredients he wasn't aware of. He wanted a line of supplements and consumables that had all of the good, effective ingredients and none of the bad. So, he made it happen. I got set up with all of the key products, and I want to do the same for you. Jocko Go. They are energy drinks for clean, sustainable energy. Jocko Milk Protein for 30 grams of delicious grass-fed protein, plus a whole line of supplements to support mood, focus, hydration, and more. Jocko Fuel supplements are scientifically formulated and made with ingredients that are clinically tested. They are better for you options with no added sugar or artificial sweeteners and no gray area ingredients or banned substances. It is clean fuel without compromise, and right now you can get 20% off when you use the promo code Chael at jockofuel.com or just click on the link below. Conor versus Chandler, UFC 300. Do you think this is the fight? Do you think this is the fight that we're waiting on? The big reveal? Now, no is my answer, no. Because I don't know that we would have a shock and or an awe moment. I think it would be par for the course. I think a lot of people would expect it to be Conor versus Chandler. My biggest pushback on Conor versus Chandler being a main event at 300 is policy says title fights go last. Policy says even further, if there's two title fights on the same card, whoever is heavier goes last. So, if you were to bring Conor in with no belt, you put him at top of the bill, which is exactly where he belongs, right? Red Panty Night is still a real thing. That is the biggest star in our industry. If you put him on a card, not in main event, you just demoted him. You just demoted him. And it's very hard to unfry that egg. And you could think that people will understand. And you can attempt to tell that story. And you can attempt to say, well, we've got a policy over here. You can even make his fight with Chandler, Conor talking about with Chandler, you could even make it 5 rounds. I mean, these are all things that we have done before. But make no mistake, no matter how good you are at this game, you just demoted him. And his brand might be big enough and his brand might be strong enough, but is it big enough and strong enough to be demoted and handle a loss? I'm well aware that it's big enough and strong enough to be demoted and handle a victory. I can see where he would move forward, but moving forward would just mean that your next fight is a main event because this match has nothing to do with titles. Now, we've gotten so far out there into silly land that I have been called upon to answer and speak to the idea of Chael. Is this rumor or is this getting ready to happen? And the story goes like this. Dana White is going to announce that Leon is no longer champion because the UFC will no longer contest 170 pounds. They're going to begin from this day forward contesting 165 pounds and 175 pounds. Goodbye, Leon. Hello. Conor, Chandler, 165 inaugural title fight at 300. And I got asked to have to weigh in on this. No, that is silly. That is ridiculous. And I'll make it really easy because we're living in silly and ridiculous, right? I'm ever been as a part of this as well. I mean, we are getting pretty desperate over here, but the commission is who sets the weight classes. The ABC sets the weight classes, not Dana White. Now, that, of course, got trumped by you really good sleuths who went out and found that the ABC does have a 65-pound weight class, a 70 and a 75-pound weight class, that it was the UFC themselves that decided to push 2 of them to the side. Either way, without getting into the ins and outs, Leon's not being stripped. Conor and Chandler are not fighting for a belt. Okay? But why can't they fight? Would it help 300 to have Conor and Chandler? Even if we had to figure out the card and the positioning, would it help? is Conor versus Chandler for no reason at all on the top of a bill on International Fight Weekend in July. Or I guess June 29th has been announced. Is that somehow so much bigger that we should wait? Or doesn't this Conor and Chandler fight just feel like, let's just get it over with? The reason we're doing a fight that has nothing to do with rankings, nothing to do with contention, nothing to do with belts, the reason we're doing it is because we said we're going to do it and we just got to get it over with. So what difference would it make? And I'll tell you one that's sitting right in front of us. No one's ever discussed, but it's sitting right in front of us. I mean, one of the greats that never left the sport, one of the greats that never retired from the sport, one of the greats who recently has been hanging around more and more in corners of different athletes of the sport, and more in time at the gym, and looks the part, and everybody wants to see him. And I would imagine with everything that he's going through, could use $1 or $2 in his pocket. He would be the perfect opponent, and I do mean perfect opponent, for Tom Aspinall. The perfect match for Tom Aspinall in a main event spot at UFC 300 is, of course, Cain Velasquez.